Thank you for joining this third webinar in our series on the implementation of integrated electronic case management systems. My name is Adam Watson, and I'm the Director of Account Management and Customer Success with Synergy International Systems, based in Washington, DC. In our last two webinars, we focused on the implementation of the IECMS for the justice sector of Rwanda, and the execution of a judicial performance management system to integrate IECMS performance statistics with staff performance evaluations. We've received positive feedback on our series and wanted to take this final session to focus on the core functionality of the CMS, whether it is implemented in a single court, a national judiciary, or across the entire justice sector, as in Rwanda. I'm joined today by my colleague, Khachator Matavosian, who is Synergy's eJustice Program Manager. All participants outside of the speakers will be muted today, but we encourage you to submit questions through the chat feature, and we will have a few minutes at the end to answer some of those. French language translation is available by selecting French from the interpretation menu at the bottom of the Zoom window and muting the original English. So, Khachator, welcome. Why don't you start by giving us some background on Synergy's experience with CMS over the past 10 years?
Thank you, Adam. A couple of words about us. We are an IT company with an international experience. So we are a global software provider and consulting company, and we have our headquarters in United States. As well, we have offices in Netherlands, Armenia, and Rwanda. We have been in the business for more than 23 years. And up to today, we have done projects in 75 countries. In total, 300 plus solutions for governments and NGOs. And on the map, you can see where we have highlighted the countries where we have case management systems implemented. So when we talk about the case management specifically, we talk about digitalization of the paper case. So the paper case, which can be of a prosecution office or a court or a correctional service or investigation bureau, which is fully being digitalized and transferred into an electronic form and governing all its process. So regarding our recent experience, we are developing case management system in Ukraine for EU anti-corruption initiative for National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, Special Anti-Corruption Prosecution, and a High Anti-Corruption Court. We are also developing an electronic integrated court case management for Uganda, and we have developed case management system for Papua New Guinea's courts, for in US for Municipality of Cortland, Court of Human Rights in United States, one of the biggest covering almost all, more than a dozen justice sector institutions is the integrated electronic case management system in Rwanda. As well, we have experience in the Middle East and in other African countries as well. Adam?
Thanks for sharing that background. So what are some of the core features of the CMS that have been implemented across these clients? So
when we talk about the electronic case management system, so we are basically talking about a web-based application. So a solution that can be accessed through internet, and it can have one single login page and all different users can benefit from the same system. So it is an off-the-shelf with predefined components, which gives maximum flexibility to it. And it's adaptive to the changes, which can be customized through the administration center. It is modular, so the electronic case management systems can be implemented for one court or for all the courts of the country, or also for all other justice sector institutions as well. And as it's a web solution, it can be accessed with a responsive design through tablets, mobile phones, and any device which has access to internet. So when we talk about the, let's say, mandatory or default functionalities that the case management system should have, so first of all, it's about online case data entry. So all the information that we have on a paper file can be entered online. Then, considering that in the courts and the other justice sector institutions, each one has so-called the legal templates, so templates of documents that are being used. This can be, as an example, a hearing order or an interview statement, a ruling, protocol, judge decision, or an arrest warrant. So all those can change. So another functionality is about the field and form generation, so that the courts and other justice sector institutions can customize those forms and legal templates. And when we are talking about a process-driven case management system, so it's about the role-based access, so that at the time of the case processing, based on the exact state, the information can be secured based on the role-based access functionalities. And when we talk about the process, it's also about the automated workflow processing. So the processes can be standardized, and with all the reminders and workflow actions, it can make the system smoother. And about integrations. So the system should, any case management system, it's mandatory or desired that it is integrated with other platforms, and it has an architecture which is open for integrations. This can be integration with other justice sector institution solutions, or integrated with other systems in the country, which can be, for example, national ID system or criminal record database or land registries and many others. And when you have a case management system, so the data is being entered, another big component is about the analytics and reporting, so that you can not only enter the data, but you can also benefit from analyzing and monitoring all the data entered and build different type of reports or charts that can be visualized. And the other two remaining are about the calendars, task management, and collaboration, so that inside the court or inside the judiciary or within the justice sector, all the cooperation and collaboration can be done online, and system can notify about different events to the user, to its users. Adam?
Great. Thank you. So we'll get into those features in a little bit more detail here shortly. But before we do that, what are some of the benefits that the CMS confers? And what have been some of the results from these client implementations? How does the CMS actually improve performance?
So a case management system improves the record keeping. So when we digitalize the paper-based system, by automating and standardizing the manual procedures, it enhances the record keeping and reduces the delays and case backlogs. Then it improves the efficiency, how it works. So by the workflow processes that guides the users through their daily activities, and not only guides, but also reminds them if there are any delays or any important event. So this helps to fasten the process and improve its efficiency. Then having all the data in the system, it gives possibility not only to have statistics reports, but also possibility to have an overview about the performance. And it becomes a very strong decision support tool for the management and for the users for the better resource allocation. And when the systems are being integrated with other justice sector institutions and other platforms, so the inter-agency data integration moves data smoothly from one agency to another and reduces the likelihood of delays and process errors that can arise. If we take one of our projects that we have done, and talk about the benefits that it has achieved, what we have achieved. So we were able to achieve, for example, 100% e-filing rate. And after piloting to all the judiciary in the courts, and when people say frequently that if you go to electronic case filing rate will decrease and it can create obstacles for the people not having access to internet. But our experience showed that after full piloting, it has become more easier to file cases, and the filing rate even increased by 26%. Then, even with the increase of the filing rate, without hiring new staff, the case processing time was reduced about twice, from 7 months to 3.4 months. And the backlog was reduced from 42% to 23%. Also, after the system was in place and it, with different functionalities, tracked and monitored the court sessions and their adjournments, the adjournment rate was reduced from 29% to 11%. And in the end, as an objective, as the system was also implemented in the commercial courts and had all the functionalities that are required in the doing business report of the World Bank, the rating of the country in the World Bank doing report enforcing contract raised 22 positions. Adam?
Those are some great results. So thanks for that background. Now, why don't you go ahead and walk us through a demonstration of the integrated solution. So looking at how the police, prosecutors, courts, and corrections can all engage with the CMS.
Sure. Before starting the presentation, showing the demo, just a couple of words of what I will be showing. So let's imagine a situation. We have an electronic system in 4 main justice sector institutions: Investigation Bureau, Prosecution, Court, and Prison. And we will be entering into the system as head of the investigation. We'll create a case and assign an investigator. We'll submit the case then to the prosecution, and we'll request from the courts, from the prosecution, to provisionally detain the suspect. And then we'll approve that decision and create a prison case. And after, we'll show how the suspect's advocate can enter into the system and appeal the court's decision, submit a case for an appeal. So now I'll be logging in as head of the Investigation Bureau into the system. So this is an example of a case management system, and I will be showing during the demo some of the features that I was talking about. So a calendar, which integrates all institutions and can show different type of events. Users can have online calendar, which is integrated with the Outlook, to see their appointment, tasks, and automatically generated events, for example, hearings, if they have. They can see all their cases online in their work desk. They can filter, they can search, and can create new ones. So we'll try to create a new case. Let's say we are filing a complaint, and this is a police station where we are filing, and I'm Alfie, the reporting officer who is creating. So we have the case. Let's have the summary for webinar, and we need to add parties. So there are 2 options. Either we can add a new party who is not in the system, or we can search in the integrated electronic case management system. Let's add a new one. So let's say the party is our suspect. It's myself. I can fill any general information about this person: address, employment, education, children, and any assets. I can attach any document to it. As the person is created, so next time we will be able to search and add it. So this is our suspect. So we have a case with a 1 suspect. If this, and we can enter the crimes. So we can either remember what is the article, but we can also search and import the crime book into the system. So every time we can easily see. So let's say I'm responsible for murder. Now we'll not go very in detail, so we can save the case. So now we have a draft case created, and we can either reject it or proceed to the officer assignment. And we'll assign this to someone. Let's say we assign it to John. Now we'll submit it. We just put some dummy data here. And it's ready, so we send it for processing. Now I don't have any more actions to do on this one. So I will now log in as John, who is an investigating police officer. So here we have, I logged in as John, and I see that there is one case assigned to me. It's the case of Kechetur Matevosyan, and I see notifications. So every time a case is being assigned to me or I have anything to do, I will see it as a notification. So it's make easier to see which are the cases that I have. So the ones that are directly assigned to me are here. I have no appointment, but I have some events that I need to attend. So if the advocate for the suspect comes, I can add the advocate. If it's an advocate who usually comes, we can search him. For example, this person, we can add him as an attorney. And if this person is present in the system, so all this information can be filled. There are case management systems which are integrated with national ID services or with office systems, so fingerprints and all other information can be captured. And one of the advantages of an integrated system is that if a person is in the system, so it can show all the other cases where this person is present. So the related cases. This is a very helpful functionality for the judge. So when the judge is judging someone, he can easily see this person is the first time in front of the court or he has been there many times. Now, as an investigator, those are the actions that I can do on the case, and I can create any statements. So I can create a interview statement, I can summon people, or I can create an arrest statement. Let's take an example. I'm arresting the person. Selecting the reason, for example, and saving as a metadata. So there is possibility to export it into the legal template. So the legal templates can be exported in PDF or Word formats. So if we export, so it comes already in the format that can be printed, the person detainee can sign, and we can sign it either manually or so physically or electronically. And we have the legal template generated. And every form that is being created, it can be signed and stamped. So an arrest statement or release statement. So, yeah. And we have the history. So what shows the history? Imagine if you were taking a case and you could, every time before entering any single change, you could make a copy of that case at that time. So every time single information is changing the system, the audit captures the information. So this makes the system secure and any change can be compared. So let's take an example. If we want to compare two versions of the case file, we can easily see what change has been done. So the number has changed and the status has changed. And as well in the parties, Kechetur has been added at that time. Now, we can gather exhibits, make interviews, fill arrest statements if needed, prepare different protocols, and then when the case is ready, we can submit it to prosecution. As an example, we'll send it to the intermediate prosecution office, and we'll see how the integration works between different institutions. So for the demo, we'll not fill any exhibits, notes, or attachments. We go to finalizing the case. And we submit the case to prosecution. So our case is already submitted to prosecution. And if we go into the general information, we can see that there is now a related case to the investigation case. It's a prosecution case. So now we'll log into the system as a prosecution user, and we'll see what is there. Now, I am logging into the same system as a prosecution. So now I'm in the prosecution module, and the case has automatically come and appeared in the prosecution. And I can see in the notifications that there is a case pending for my action. Now, the data that we have filled in the police case partially is being replicated in the prosecution case. So the prosecution doesn't need to re-enter all that information. We have the Pescarty who has come, the attorney of Kejtur Jensen who has appeared, the crime which comes automatically, so the prosecution can have it and continue. Also, in the prosecution model, we have the related police case, which we can access as a prosecutor. So we don't have any possibility to modify anything in the investigation case, but we can access it in the view mode and see the information. So what has happened, who were the assignments, are there any documents created or generated, so on and so forth. So we can assign, and each case can have its own workflow process, which can be totally different one from the other. And when we want to check, we can see that this is the prosecution workflow. So, but we'll not do all the steps. And we can see which users can do what. And this helps to the new users to understand the system better and to have an understanding about the process that governs an investigation case or a prosecution case. Now in the prosecution, we can, of course, add new parties to the case, add other advocates, update the information, create new, assign new crimes. We can create warrants different, the indictment. But as our time is limited, we'll try now to submit an urgent request to the court for the detention. Let's select the Alpha Court. And we are selecting a provisional detention case. So for the demo purposes, we have reduced the requirements so we can easily work. So now a new court case is created in the system, which is pending the receivability check in the court module. So meaning the information has already gone to the court, and now our prosecution case is linked with two cases in the system. It's the police case and the judiciary case. Now we will log in as a court user and try to see what's happening in the courts. So here we already have automatically added one party, which is the prosecution. So it's prosecution versus Sketchatur in this case. And this is yet pending a receivability check. So here, those are my new cases, and those are the ones that are being delayed. So system can already show which are the cases which are being delayed by some deadlines and which are in warning states. Now, it's in the given state, and it has, again, its own workflow process. And based on the user, it can decide what should be done. And in the courts, again, some information is already copied, and the court case is related to a police and prosecution case, so they can have access to it. We can select assign judges, assign clerks. We'll take the same person for the demo exercise. And even if we go to this person's profile, if we want to check, we can see that this person is present in 3 cases as the suspect and as the accused in the court case. Another feature which is being done to make easier the access to justice, it's about giving an access to a party to the electronic system so that he can file his positions or rebuttals. So we'll assign one of our users to this party. So after we'll show how he can enter and appeal the case if he is against the decision. Then in the courts, we can schedule a hearing. Let's schedule for today. And we can invite both parties. Now, as any format that we saw in the police application, in the court as well, we can export the hearing order, or we can sign it electronically, and the information that is in the system comes. So we don't need to fill everything. If something is already filled, it will come automatically. Now, we can also check the court fees. We can create any type of orders. We can adjourn the hearings and create summons. But as once again, the time is short, we will try to proceed to the judgment preparation very fast. And for the demo, let's take an example when we want to send this person to jail and then continue the investigation. We can put some keywords, facts about our decision. We can write the decision, and for the integration purposes, we can make a decision, and for the defendant, send him to detention. Let's say he will start today for 30 days. And we'll send to the Alpha prison, for example. Oh, I've forgotten to fill a required field. Now, let's consider a decision is done and we send for judgment copy preparation. So we have already the related cases and the information in the courts. Another option is if the person is not fine with the decision, I will log in now as a public user and I will try to appeal the decision of the court. So I have logged in as a public user, as let's say the attorney of Gadgetur. So I can see all the cases where Gadgetur is present, and I'm representing him. Also my all other cases. If I have questions to court as an advocate or as a litigant, I can use help desk and type my questions, select the court. And when I'm filing a case, so for me as a public user, my permissions are different, so I can see less. I can select the court I want to file a case. And if I select the appeal, I can search for cases where I'm present. And here is the case that we were working on. And if I need to make any payments, I can attach my payment receipt, or I can pay online. So the system can be integrated with local payment providers or international payment gateways. So just filling the card information, there will be no need to go to court physically to make the payments. And when I finish filling the information, I can just submit it to court, and the court will receive and it will continue. Also, the prosecution will receive the information and the police will be informed that the case has been appealed. Adam?
Excellent. Thanks for the very comprehensive overview, looking at that from all these different angles. We have lots of questions coming in, so keep those coming. We'll get to them at the end. But since we've seen now how the data entry, the workflow, and the permissions work, once all of this data is in the system, then how can it be used to measure and report on performance?
Thanks, Adam. Now I will log in as an administrator just to be able to go to one report to the other, and we'll talk. So here in the judiciary model, let's say when we talk about analytics, so there are predefined reports. I'm sure everyone in the justice sector institutions, there are reports which are monthly, yearly, quarterly, or daily. So those can be created and saved in the system. Just let's take one of those existing reports. Case flow during the month. So as I have access, we can see per court level, per court, how much were cases pending at the beginning of the month, how much were received, if there is any change in the submission, how many cases were closed, and how many cases were pending at the end of the month in all different levels and in all courts. So those reports are fine, but another idea is, can we build new reports? Let's say if the requirement change, if we want to analyze more data. So I will bring an example how the system gives possibility to create a new report. So using the drag and drop functionality, if we want to see per court, we can select a court and we want to see how many cases there are in each court, number of cases. So it takes just a second to build a report like this and see how many cases there are in each court. If we want to see by category, we can drag and drop the category and we'll see how many administrative, civil, or commercial cases we have in each court. So we can even filter. Any field that we use to build, to enter into the system can be used in the filters. We can filter by court, filter, and at the same time filter by the instance of the case, and build more sophisticated and enhanced filters. And we can always export the data of the report into PDF, Word, or Excel formats. And if we want, we can save the reports for future use. This is more a statistical report, but the system can also show the performance. Let me open the report. For example, the performance of the court per month, not only checking only the numbers, how much received, but how much time, for example, we spent in each court, and grouped by civil and criminal categories. So let's say we can give conditional formatting if we have any targets. For example, if the time is from 40 or 30, it shows yellow. Then if it's fine, it shows green, and we can see the performance. And for the criminal. So we can say that in the demo system that we have, our civil cases are performing a bit slower we can say, than the criminal cases. And in the same way, the data can be visualized not only in the report form, but also in graphical visualization. So we can have, again, multiple reports. And per decision type, for example, we can see how much time it takes in average every type of decision in the system. And once again, if we want to create a new chart, for example, per court level, see number of cases. So it's just a second. So any field that we have in the system, any data that we feel, so we have hundreds of fields, can be visualized in the reports. But what is more important, it's when those different reports, charts, lists, they can all be seen together. So this is already a dashboard which groups different charts, reports, and graphics in one place. And this shows at a country level, for example, but if we want to analyze what we have, not, let's say this is an example of a court performance report, not that specifically on the all courts, but we want to dig deeper. For example, we see that at the city court level, the disposition time it takes is 23. We want to see in which specific courts it's like that. So we can drill down, and now we have the courts at that level and their dispositions time, the caseload, and the execution per each court. And if we want to see what happens in a specific court, we can again so-called drill down. And now we'll see for each, for example, judge, their load, and their own performance. And we can always go back and analyze other courts. In the same way, we can also analyze the different delays or performance characteristics. So how well we perform in terms of the court level, in terms of different roles, and in terms of the delays that we face if we have any specific targets already put. Adam?
Thanks. I think everybody can see how useful these visualizations would be. So thanks for sharing those. One thing we've not specifically discussed yet is all the administrator tools that allow you to configure and set up the system. So how do you adapt the system for new clients? When you're rolling out one of these systems, how do you configure it? What are some of the administrator tools that are used?
Thanks, Adam. Actually, we'll log into the administration center where we will be able to see how we can change. Because what shows my experience, though for investigation, this has been the same in many countries for investigation bureaus or prosecution offices, courts. So though we call that those are case management system, but the information that is being entered is totally different. The processes can be different from one country to the other, roles and everything can be different. Now, and one important aspect is it's not about the initial configuration of the system, it's also about the sustainability. So if the system is customized and developed, how in future it can be modified by the, let's say, by the client if they don't have a team of very strong developers. So do you remember I was showing a hearing order? So from our point of view, hearing order is a form. And if I open the so-called form builder as an administrator of the system, I can modify it. So when we were showing the hearing form, if I need to add a new field in my hearing form, just an example, summary of circumstances. As I did with the reports when I was building, I can update it. So there is no need to go to have a database developer to add something in the database or have an application developer to make the coding. Just with a drag and drop, we can add a new field. So it's about the forms. And if we need more metadata, this way we can easily customize any form that there are. Then one is the metadata in the electronic forms. The other is the document, the legal template that is coming. The administrator can modify the PDF or Word document that is being exported from the system. So if there is any change in the law governing the form or we need to add more information, we can easily update it and this will be available to all users. So with the form and export manager, so we can update any field in the system. In the same way, so the system can have multiple languages or the wording should be changed. So in a dictionary, administrator can change any single wording that is available. So again, this doesn't require any coding. Then if we are talking about notifications, so any notification template can be added or customized. So, and the conditions can be also specified in the system. And of course, the business process. So the business process that governs, it can also be checked by the administrator and they can add new states and besides add different rules. For example, if there is an overdue with the proceeding, what are the deadlines that are preferred, and define what type of events should trigger the notifications. And if there is a need to add new fields which are not designed in the system, the administrators can add them. The idea is that if they want a totally new text field, they can add the text field from the designer and it will automatically create it in the database and it will be available to be used in the forms. This way, it makes easier to maintain and furtherly develop such kind of systems. So not having a very strong technical background and not being certified developers, the system can be maintained and furtherly developed. Even if a new type of documents comes up, which was not in the system, so this can be created from scratch without coding. And the last feature, I think, which will be the most interesting for everyone in the justice sector, it's about the auditing. So for these systems, the security is the most important. Every time any users clicks in the system, it is being captured in the audit. So whatever anyone has checked or clicked anywhere, downloaded something, uploaded, or data came through integration, all that can be captured in the audit to make sure that the system is secure and no data will go either out or in without the acknowledgement of the corresponding security staff. Adam?
Thanks. Speaking of security, we've had lots of questions about the security of the system and how you maintain that. One of the specific things that seems to be coming up is the idea of the roles and permissions. When somebody is logging in with a specific role, do they see their own screen? Do they not have access to other data? How do you manage data security with so many stakeholders accessing a single system?
Thanks, Adam. So actually, what the system gives as a possibility in terms of security, first, if the application is designed, no matter for a single investigation bureau or for the nationwide systems or for the whole sector, any organizational chart can be created in the system, like the one that we're seeing at the Correctional Service, investigation bureaus, judiciaries, prosecution office. And for each of them, any component of the system, starting from the workspace, dashboard, analytics, access rights, security policies, governing, and the data security, all these can be captured. And for each type of information in the system, administrators can decide for each business process what are the view permissions, edit permissions, delete, or add new permissions. So imagine that at the level of each field that we are looking on, for each organization, for each role, and for each state of the case process, permissions can be defined. And of course, with having users, assigning them to roles and the groups, this can be made easier.
You know, there's a lot of talk in the justice sector about artificial intelligence and AI features in case management. Have you integrated any machine learning into the CMS or any AI tools?
Right. Actually, we have done a lot of research in this regards. And one of the recent integrations we have done in a court case management system. And as a AI, we were using the prediction of the case duration. So when we talk about the AI part, we were replicating the human intelligence. Now imagine in different countries, there can be manual assignments or automatic assignments of the court cases. And if we have a case, let's say we have 100 cases as an example, which are pending assignment to different judges, and we have 10 judges available in the court. So how to assign those cases, either manual or automatically, in a way that the duration will be the fastest, for example, with the reduced ratio of the change decisions. What the system does, the AI algorithms that we have created, it is analyzing the experience of the judge based on all existing cases, and based on multiple categories, it is trying to predict for the judge the duration of the case. So if I share my screen and make a quick, so imagine when we're selecting the judge, it calculates the prediction when the case should be closed. This way, and both in manual and automated assignments, this can go to the judge already not specifically understanding his backlog, his load or experience, the system can do on his behalf. And in our research, we have reached already more than 80% of correctness when predicting this information. And the same way, this can be developed for investigation officers when we are assigning an investigator or team of investigators, or assigning prosecutors and any other, let's say, responsibles of a case, so that the algorithm, based on the available data in the system, can make the predictions and self-learn for future use based on the new cases coming and the errors that there were in the prediction. Adam?
Thanks. So other than that, like what else is in the pipeline? What else is on the product roadmap? What are you currently working on, and what's next in CMS?
Thanks, Adam. Actually, considering the COVID pandemic that came, and in different countries, we saw how courts were blocked. As the first thing that we are doing, is integrating our systems and giving possibility to have it integrated with video conferencing solutions, so that, for example, when the hearing is being scheduled, the one scheduling the hearing can select if he wants to make it online. So that if they use an online application, for example, Zoom, that we're using now, it can create a Zoom meeting. So they're having the virtual ports. Then as another thing that we are working on now, it's about having the blockchain technology integrated, so that the data in the audit will be captured through the blockchain technology, which will be more secure in terms of data loss or any security breaches. And we are always implementing new functionalities, but those are the two main that we are currently working on.
Thanks. Yeah, I know someone had a question about the video conferencing integration. So beside that, are there other systems that you have integrated with? There was a question, for example, about, is it possible to link the fees module to a mobile app or other low value payment system? What are some of the other systems you've integrated with?
Well, I would say most of the case management systems that we have done for justice sector institutions, we have integrated with a bunch of different solutions. What from technology point of view, as this is a web-based application, we have an integration gateway built in, which gives possibility for the administrator to create the APIs. And by those APIs, it can be integrated with any system. We have default integrations in our system, for example, with Stripe, and Zoom will come soon as well. But if there is any application which has an API for a web-based solution, so the system can be integrated with it. And also with the mobile apps, so the system itself is responsive in its design, so it can be accessed with the mobile solutions. But if the mobile app, there is a separate mobile application which has an API, so it can be integrated with it as well. Adam?
Right, exactly, okay. So another question from one of the viewers is the system able to generate the turnaround time for each process? For example, filing, case assignment, hearings, decisions, in addition to the overall case processing time, which you presented was cut in half by one of our clients. So could you talk a little bit about that and the analytics and how the time is measured for different tasks?
Yes, so if you remember when I was making the demo, I was doing different workflow actions. So the system captures when not only the case was created, but all the different steps which were done. So entering the state time and exiting time. So when analyzing, if you want to analyze the process, for example, not of a single case or of all cases, but step by step, so the system can show. And the delays mechanism that we have is actually based on the workflow process states. So that if we have the case has come, for example, to court and we have 5 days either to approve or reject it, you can see how long it takes for each case and how long it took for each user to do the action, and can calculate if it is performing well or not. So as the process is, if we went by the real process, it would take us about an hour, because there are many steps that pass and many users. And every time an action is being done, it is being saved in the database. That the receivability, for example, check took, let's say, 3 days. Then the hearing scheduling took 1 day. And you can put the targets in each state as an administrator, and then can compare your actual with your performance.
Great. A few quick questions. One was, how does the system capture evidence at the scene of the crime?
There are different options. So there is, we have the registry of the material evidences, so those can be captured. The ones that are available on the, if the investigator has a mobile phone or a tablet that you want to make some photos or to create protocols, so you can do through that. and there is always the possibility to gather the data and then post factum enter into the system. So if they put the scan copies, or if there are any digital evidences, link it to the case file and have the register of the material evidences, which can be seen in the case.
Yeah, and someone was also asking about that. You're talking about attachments. What do you do with the court? You know, do you record the hard copies as well? Do you attach every document in the system? Is it just uploading everything? How do you handle documents?
Basically, if we take the example of if by law there is the digital documents are legitimate, so can be used, there is no need to print every generated document. For example, if you create a hearing order, you can sign it electronically. And if it is fine, or the arrest statement can be signed, or a protocol electronically, there is no need to print, sign physically, and re-upload. So if the law says that you should sign those documents physically, and the digital doesn't seems to be a legal one, so they can be uploaded into the should be uploaded into the system. The idea is that if you upload into the system those documents, and by law there is no nothing against the law, so you can upload them and have possibility to search them in the contents as well. So you can have everything electronically. And one of our implementations, there is no need to then physically pass the physical copies from one institution to the other when case is being submitted. And that helps to reduce the time that takes every time to bring the physical copies from one institution to the other. But in terms, there is only the limitation is physical in terms of the storage. So you can have technically unlimited number of attachments uploaded into the system, and those can be not only Word or PDF files, those can be audio and video recordings and any type of attachment.
Right. We have dozens of extra questions. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Just one more quick one, and then we'll close out. This question was about court rules. And I think this is interesting because sometimes the rules have to be adapted to implement a case management system, but sometimes, and more often, I think the case management system should adopt the rules that are already there and should accommodate those. So they gave an example. They said, you know, maybe witness statements are required to be filed but not disclosed until all parties have filed, or one party ought not to be able to view the witness statements filed ahead of a scheduled date. Can these rules be integrated into the CMS?
Yes, actually, when designing the system, all those is being considered. And what you were telling Adam, it's more about the permissions. So the case management system difference between from registry systems, let's say, is that the permissions are not fixed for a role, but also the process is considered. Just the question that you ask, I can rephrase in a more easier example and say, let's say the decision of the judge. Decision of the judge should be always available when the pronouncement is being done. Before the pronouncement, no one besides the judge should have access to it. Right. So meaning people can have access to the decision, but only after the state that the case is pronounced is passed. So as soon as it is passed, then you can have access to it. The same relates to different type of statements. Those can be statements, ruling, protocols, or even the hearing can be on public or a closed one. So by using the permissions, the administrators, or when you design the system, you can decide at what state for which roles or groups of users a field or a form or a group of information should be available or restricted, not only for editing, but also for viewing.
Well, I think that's all the time we have today. We've run the course of our hour. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for your time. If you have more questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or Khachator. He's the one who sent you the emails and invitations, so you can just respond to those. You can also stay in touch with us through our community of practice on LinkedIn. We'll circulate the recording of this session and we'll get back to you and look forward to staying in touch. So thank you for joining us.